Raw blacksmithing materials. From Valinka Stoneheaver. It's me, Valinka Stoneheaver. You know, the one you hired to source components for your use. You still want the stuff, right? I've included a sample. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. This job will really help me pursue my true calling. Delver of dungeons and collector of ancient relics. Not what you'd expect from a Nord, huh? Valinka again. I hope this package finds you well. Me? I've been better. My brothers are giving me grief about my chosen profession. They say it isn't proper for a Nord maiden to rummage around the countryside, collecting components and crawling around ancient ruins. But what do those hawkers know? I'm so angry right now I could punch a mammoth. Sorry this shipment is late. Who knew mammoths were such sensitive creatures? I barely gave it a love tap, but it went rampaging through the town square like I really hurt it or something. It took forever to calm it down and clean up the mess. Good thing mammoths like mead-soaked fruit balls, but all of my brothers could do was laugh, the hawkers. I know, late again, but at least the components arrived, right? I had another incident with my brothers. It involved a lot of mead and a few well-placed blows to the head. Milk drinkers. They never could best me in a fair fight. Still, I think I'll go further afield for you next shipment. Give us all a little time to cool off. Who do you love? Valinka, that's who. Look at what I was able to find you this time. Premium grade materials, if I do say so myself. And I discovered a new ruin to explore. I'll tell you all about it when I send your next shipment. That ruin I told you about turned out to be some orc's hovel, and he wasn't very happy to find me inside and digging through his stuff. Who knew orc hovels looked so much like ancient ruins? Live and learn, I guess. I shared a fire with a camp of Argonians. A few cups of some foul-tasting beverage they obviously enjoyed more than I did. They loosened up enough to tell me about a ruin they had passed in their travels. Finally, a real lead to a dungeon. But don't despair, I won't neglect my duties to you while I delve into the unknown. Dear patron, please accept this latest shipment of components. Now to other matters. I must tell you how the search for the ruin goes. Those Argonians provided the strangest directions. Something about how melting water flows into the maw of the ruins or some such. I thought I was wandering in circles. But then... Oh, more later. I have to run now. Sorry about that. I really had to run, and those hawkers that were chasing me were fast. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning. When I was a little girl with pigtails. No, that's too far back. I found the dungeon the Argonians told me about, and it was right where they said it would be. More or less. Valinka here, with more components and another report about my quest to become the greatest explorer in Tamriel. I'm going to be even better than that show-off Narcissus Dren. I found the ruins. Only a half-crumbled tower of rock jutted from the ground. But I was sure that the structure continued beneath the surface. That's when the orc spotted me. Who knew orcs could run so fast? I was hoping for Dwarven or Daedric relics, but it turns out the ruins were Old Nordic. The orcs were using the place as a hideout. They were obviously bandits, and obviously mean. I was able to double back and sneak in while the orcs were out looking for me. That's when I saw the... Oops! Got to go! More components, as requested. Now, where was I? Oh yes, the orc bandits were using the old Nordic ruin as a hideout. While they were out looking for me, I returned to look around their hideout. It was a single stone chamber beneath the crumbling tower, hardly a proper ruin at all, and locked in a small metal cage in one corner was a mangy dog. When the mangy dog saw me, it whined pitifully. Now, I'm not some milk drinker with a soft spot for furry animals, but something about the dog touched my heart. He had a noble bearing and a fire in his eyes. And who hasn't found themselves locked in a cage after a night of mead and good cheer? So I did the only reasonable thing. I opened the cage. That was when the first of the bandits returned. He was a fat orc with rotting leather armor and a thick mace hanging from his belt. He was as surprised to see me as I was to see him. We both reached for our weapons, but before one could draw on each other, the dog burst from the open cage and charged right for the orc's, delegates. I hope my tale isn't boring you, patron. Here are some more components, as requested. These would never have reached you if not for that mangy dog. Plucky clamped sharp teeth on that fat orc's private parts, giving me time to unsling my warhammer and bring the business end down with all my might. The orc dropped like a sack of rabbit meatballs. Speaking of rabbit meatballs, that dog Plucky certainly likes the spicy little orbs of tastiness. And who can blame him? I was feasting on the things myself when Plucky helped himself to a meatball or three. Now he can't get enough of the delicious spheroids of rabbity goodness. I must stock up the next time I'm in a town or city. It's me again, Valinka Stoneheaver, and Plucky the brave dog. We escaped the orc bandits and have left the Nordic ruins behind us. Now we're back to tracking down crafting components for you, full time. Well, at least until we hear about another ruin to explore. Enjoy this shipment with our compliments. While gathering the components for this shipment, I heard the most amazing news. My hero, the famous delver of dungeons, Narcis Dren, is going to be visiting the city in a few days. And even better, he's going to give a talk at the inn about his latest adventure. I think I'm going to hang around so I can meet him. Here you go. I hope this suffices, but I didn't want to range too far afield while Narcis Dren is visiting the city. He is my hero, after all. I plan to be just like him. Well, maybe half as good. He is the preeminent dungeon explorer of our time, so I need to set my sights accordingly. I'll tell you all about his talk next time. Just wanted to get this off to you before Narcis Dren takes the stage at the inn. Oh, there he is. For a dark elf, he doesn't look half bad. Got to go. What an amazing tale Narcis Dren told us. The inn was packed. It seemed like the whole city wanted to see the famous explorer and hear what he had to say. You should have heard his story about the time he was trapped in an Aelid ruin by a group of Data cultists. It was so exciting. After Narcis Dren got away from the Daedra cultists, what a tale that was. He read an excerpt from his new book, Narcis Dren and the Lost Ruins of Salvnord. I can't wait to get a copy and see how he escaped from the Atronachs. I must sound like an unbloodied cub before her first battle, but I can't help it. He's so intense. How embarrassing. I can't believe I looked up to that skeever. After his talk, I went up to Narcis Dren and asked him to sign a copy of his book, Dungeon Delving Secrets. He said, "Sure, right after you come to my room and examine my artifact." You know, for a famous adventurer, he dropped like a sack of rabbit meatballs when I hit him. Hi, it's me, Valinka. Sorry about going on and on about Narcis Dren. Turns out he's just like most of the stupid males I've ever met, and not a hero or anything. I'm not opposed to a good romp in the hay, so to speak, but a woman likes to be won over, you know? Like in those poems by Fioki the Bard. Anyway, here's your shipment. Valinka has a new mission in life. I plan to become an even greater dungeon explorer than that diseased skeever Narcis Dren, and I may have a lead on just the dungeon to explore. Turns out, Dren dropped a scrap of parchment when I socked him on the nose. I didn't notice it, but Plucky picked it up and brought it to me. It's a map. Ever hear of a place called Bthunzel? Neither did I, but that's where this map that Narcis Dren dropped seems to be pointing. And it's covered with notes like Dwarven Ruin, Never Explored, and Treasure. Needless to say, Valinka is one excited hawker, but I promise to fulfill the terms of our contract, no matter how famous I may become. While purchasing supplies in a small town, the closest town to the spot marked on Dren's map, I accidentally mentioned that I was a relic hunter of some renown. A small exaggeration, I grant you, but I was anxious and excited. But now I think I'm being followed. I sure am glad I have Plucky with me. He's such a good dog. Oh, enjoyed the shipment? I hope this shipment of components finds you well. I continue to travel towards the ruins of Bthunzel, intent on reaching the place as soon as I can. As for thinking that I was being followed, it must have been a false alarm. I haven't seen any sign of cultists or bandits since I left the town. Plucky, however, continues to seem ill at ease. The oddest thing happened. I was just settling into my camp for the night, after a fine day of gathering components for your use, I might add, when Plucky started barking and ran off into the darkness. As I write this, he still hasn't returned. Feel like a hawker waiting for the butcher's cleaver, but he's probably just chasing a rabbit, right? Oh, patron, what should I do? I woke up to find a note pinned to the tree above my sleeping mat. We have your dog, it says. If you want to see him alive again, tell us the location of the ruins. And it was signed by Narcissus Dren's infamous nemesis, Morella the Cruel. Oh, what should I do? By the way, your components are included. I am not ready to have a nemesis of my own, especially not one powerful enough to threaten the mighty Narcissus Dren for so many years. Still, Plucky needs me. He's a good dog and doesn't deserve to be left in the hands of the evil Morella the Cruel. Excuse the quality of the shipment, but as you can see, I have a lot of my mind of late. The clearing near the river is a perfect place to stage an ambush. I know I'm walking into a trap, but what choice do I have? I have to try to save Plucky from the villainous Morella the Cruel. But my parents didn't raise a milk drinker. I have a plan of my own. I'll tell you all about it next time. Wish me luck. Remember the time I punched a mammoth? I learned a valuable lesson that day. Mammoths love meat-soaked fruit balls. As it happens, I'm carrying a pouch full of the delicious sweets at this very moment, and that gives me an idea for how to approach my meeting with Morella the Cruel. Oh, and more components are included with the missive. I entered the clearing cautiously. Plucky was tied to a stake, growling at the woman beside him. She wasn't as tall as me, but for a Breton lass she was taller than average. But my manner was her impeccable outfit. I entered the clearing cautiously. Plucky was tied to a stake, growling at the woman beside him. She wasn't as tall as me, but for a Breton lass she was taller than average. By her manner and her impeccable outfit, I knew she was Morella the Cruel. There were 6 thugs with her. I hope you plan to cooperate, she said, tugging on Plucky's tether. Valinka here. Please find another shipment of components included with this letter. And in case you are getting anxious about it, Plucky is back with me, all safe and sound. Now that the suspense is out of the way, let me tell you what happened. But next time. We're still trying to put some distance between ourselves and Morella's gang. So, there I was, in the clearing, facing down Morella the Cruel and her gang of thugs. I want to tell you how I said something witty, dispatched the evildoers, and rescued Plucky. What actually happened was a lot more chaotic, and it all started when I tossed the pouch with the remaining meat-soaked fruit balls to Morella. Morella caught the pouch of meat-soaked fruit balls. The look on her face told me it was reflex and not a desire for one of the luscious treats that drove her dexterity. As the ground began to shake and Morella's eyes went wide with panic, I quickly grabbed Plucky's leash and ran from the clearing. That's when the mammoth arrived. Getting a mammoth to follow you isn't as hard as you might imagine, since they share a particular fondness for meat-soaked fruit balls with Nords. I'm surprised more of us haven't had a line of the giant beasts tagging along behind us. Of course, a hungry mammoth was the last thing Morella the Cruel expected to charge into the clearing that day. Plucky and I watched from the tree line as the mammoth trampled through the clearing, trying to get to the meat-soaked fruit balls I tossed to Morella the Cruel. We stayed just long enough to make sure Morella and her gang were fully engaged, Then we ran as fast as we could. I guess Buthenzel will have to wait until things calm down. Another town, another tavern. A letter caught up with me when I arrived, from my brother Olgath. He never could put two sentences together, so the meaning of the missive wasn't particularly clear, but I got the intent. He wants me to come home to attend some sort of celebration. Don't worry, this won't affect the shipment of your components. What a pain in the arse. I just want to find a fast way to travel back home, but I run into obstacles at every turn. Did you even What a pain in the arse. I just want to find a way to travel back home, but I run into obstacles at every turn. Did you ever try to get a portal from those stuffed robes in the Mages Guild? They charge a small fortune if you want one of the milk-drinking band of book readers. I guess I'll have to keep looking. A Khajiit trader. Such wonders I've seen since accepting your contract, and he's even willing to allow me to travel with his caravan, all the way back home. If all goes well, I should arrive in time to attend the celebration, even though I couldn't tell from Olgath's letter what we're celebrating. Yardus the Khajiit trader tells such wonderful stories. I never knew how much to believe, but they're always amusing, and he seems so sincere. He also appears quite fond of Plucky, and the two definitely enjoy each other's company. I also made a number of connections that should keep you stocked with components for some time to come. You're welcome. I got to see a trade caravan in operation, from procuring goods at one location to selling goods at another. These lessons will prove invaluable in expanding my own procurement services. I'm not sure about dealing with general public, though. Yardus never gets angry, no matter how a customer behaves. Well, I just want to hit most of them. Plucky and I said our farewells to Yardus the Khajiit trader today. It was with more than a touch of sadness that we parted ways, but at least I'm back in Skyrim. As promised, here's another shipment of components. Now, I need to find my brothers and figure out why it was so important I drop everything and return home. By all the snow in the Nine Holds, I can't believe what my brothers have done to me. Do you know why they called me home? Do you know what we're celebrating? My marriage! Oblivion take the hawkers. I don't want to get married. I'm just furious about this. Oh, and here are your components. I seriously want to crack skulls together in order to settle any... Damn it. I seriously want to crack skulls together in order to settle a debt my foolish brothers have accumulated in my absence. They decided to marry me to old Thorgrim Whatnose. They think to sell me as so much cattle? Well, think again. And Olgath gave the amulet of Mara to me. My brother, it wasn't even presented properly. Not that it matters anyway. That doesn't make any sense. And Olgath gave the amulet of Mara to me, my brother. It wasn't even presented properly. Not that it matters anyway. Alright, cut that bit out. Dear patron, I am not some commodity to be auctioned off to the highest bidder, and if, and when, I decide to accept the amulet of Mara and enter into marriage, it will be of a time and place of my choosing, and with someone I desire. It will certainly not be with old Thorgrim Whatnose. Now to tell my brothers what they can do with their celebration. Another typical family reunion. Another typical family reunion for the Stoneheavers. It involved a lot of yelling, 3 separate altercations, plenty of bruises, a few broken bones, and gallons of mead. Great times. I love these get-togethers. And I think I got my point across. Olgath will have to figure out another way to clear his debts, because I am not getting married today. So, I didn't marry old Thorgrim, but the celebration wasn't a total loss. We got to talking, and one thing led to another, and, well, I let him show me his artifact, if you catch my meaning. Hey, I'm a healthy Nord woman. I'm young, and I have needs. And the poor old hawker isn't all bad. Your components are included. Dear patron, Plucky and I are back on the road, following up on some component source leads I gathered while travelling with Yodis the trader. I may even head back towards Buthinzel, provided I don't run into Morella the Cruel and her gang again. I'm feeling refreshed and rejuvenated and ready to go. I came across an odd sight in the wilderness today. A circle of stones stood in an otherwise empty clearing, and strange runes were inscribed on the ground. It was eerily silent in the clearing, but also surprisingly peaceful. Plucky refused to approach the circle, but as I decided to sit within it and take a short rest. Not much to say today. I'm just sitting in this circle of stones, taking a short rest. I think I hear Plucky barking, but he sounds so very far away. I must have dozed off. When I woke up, I was still sitting in the circle of stones, but someone was kind enough to leave a mug of some kind of liquid in the circle with me. How nice of them. I hope it's mead. I suddenly realized I have a powerful thirst, but why is Plucky still barking at me? Bad dog, Plucky. Bad dog. He leapt into the circle of stones and knocked the mug from my hand before I could take so much as a sip of the sweet-smelling liquid. Well, that's interesting. The spilled liquid sizzles and steams as it melts strange patterns on the ground. Perhaps Plucky is a good dog after all. It took some effort and a few not-so-gentle nips from Plucky's sharp teeth, but I finally stumbled out of the circle of stones. The place cast some sort of spell over me, but now that I'm outside the circle I can already feel the fog lifting from my mind. It's time to leave this place and find a worthy treat for Plucky. Dear patron, forgive my tardiness and the tone of my last few letters. Obviously I was not myself due to the spell cast by that strange circle of stones. I promise I'll be more careful in the future. Please find the components I've included with this message. I met the most interesting Argonian, a travelling alchemist, Alit Uka. I encountered him on the road beside his small cart with its potions and reagents. We got to talking and realized we were heading in the same direction, so he invited me to accompany him. After that incident with the circle of stones, I find the lizard's presence comforting. Alit Uka enjoys showing off his alchemy expertise. That was shit. Alit Uka enjoys showing off his alchemy expertise. He mixed together some foul-smelling components and handed me the concoction. He was extremely pleased with himself, explaining that when poured into an alcoholic beverage, the potion would prevent the imbiber from getting drunk. Really? What's the point of that? Oh, I hurt Elite's feelings. Damn it. And then again. Alit Uka enjoys showing off his alchemy expertise. He mixed together some foul-smelling components and handed me the concoction. He was extremely pleased with himself, explaining that when poured into an alcoholic beverage, the potion would prevent the imbiber from getting drunk. Really? What's the point of that? Oh, I hurt Elite's feelings. From a creature one step removed from a pair of boots, Alit Uka's feelings are easily bruised. I spent most of my time trying to make up for the latest Damn it. For a creature one step removed from a pair of boots, Alit Uka's feelings are easily bruised. I spent most of my time trying to make up for the latest innocent remark I uttered that sent the poor alchemist into a deep depression. Perhaps I should just accept his worthless potions without offering any opinions. But But where's the fun in that? I have to admit, Elite Uka's latest potion might actually serve a useful purpose. He said he was trying to craft an elixir of flight so that he could soar above the mountain peaks. Instead, the potion seemed to attract birds to the imbiber. We ate well after all those wild geese perched upon Elite's head and shoulders. Easiest hunt I ever had. With a tinge of regret, I bid farewell to the alchemist Elite Uka today. He decided to continue on while I needed to see a man about a rumour in the little village on the hill. Turns out he may have a lead on another ruin I can investigate. In the meantime, enjoy this shipment of components. On the way to the village on the hill, Plucky decided to run off and chase a rabbit. Stupid dog thinks that if he catches the rabbit it will magically give him rabbit meatballs, cooked and ready to eat. If only that were true. Maybe if we catch a few of the long-eared creatures I can find a cook in town who knows how to prepare the delicacy. I followed Plucky as he chased this rabbit, but a strange noise ahead gave me pause. I drew my weapon and approached, using what cover I could to conceal my presence. From my hiding place, I saw a sight that made my blood run cold. Daedric cultists! 3 robed figures tossed nets over both Plucky and the rabbit, and the day had started so well. How do I get myself into these situations? Now I have to save Plucky from his rabbit. How do I get myself into these situations? Now I have to save Plucky and his rabbit from a trio of No, but apparently I got kicked out of your house. I have no idea. Is it set as your primary residence? Am I going to record Caramel Little Leaf talking here as well? Nope, it's kicking me out again. I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know what permissions have changed, but it says I don't have permissions to visit this house. I don't know. I do not know. Nope, kick me out again. I'm going to check that the permissions haven't changed. How strange. how do I get myself into these situations? Now I have to save Plucky and his rabbit from a trio of Daedric cultists who are preparing to begin some kind of ritual. And Plucky and the rabbit are the main components in the foul ceremony. Think, Valinka, think! There has to be something. Wait! Elite's potion! I have an idea. Oh, patron, you should have seen the cultists' faces as I came storming into their camp with a flock of birds. Elite's potion worked amazingly well, attracting winged creatures of all shapes and sizes. They surrounded me like a cloud of wings and talons, like the fury of Cain herself burst upon them. Now if I had only planned my next move. I charged the cultists, surrounded by all manner of birds attracted to me after I drank Elite's potion. Now we stared at each other, the cultists confused and nervous, me unsure how best to proceed with my daring plan to rescue Plucky and the rabbit. My moment of surprise was quickly evaporating, but I didn't have a clue as to what to do next. All in all, I was beginning to feel a bit silly, what with a flock of birds surrounding me and no clear idea how to finish my daring rescue of Plucky and the rabbit. That was when I think Cain herself lent a hand. A huge eagle swooped out of the sky. It frightened the other birds so much that they exploded away from me and right into the cultists. The eagle scattered the birds in all directions. Then the eagle swooped again, this time right at the 3 Daedric cultists. I barely hefted my warhammer and got in a couple of whacks before the cultists began to run. The cowards! Not to miss my opportunity, I released Plucky and the rabbit. Then we fled toward the village on the hill. In honor of our adventure together, Plucky and I decided to let the rabbit go on its many In honor of our adventure together, Plucky and I decided to let the rabbit go on its merry way. It considered us for a moment, then tipped his head as if acknowledging facts from... I'm not doing very well with this one. In honor of our adventure together, Plucky and I decided to let the rabbit go on its merry way. It considered us for a moment, then tipped its head as if acknowledging our gesture. Plucky whined a bit as if his hope for rabbit meatballs hopped away, but it was the right thing to do. Your components are included, as per our agreement. I found the man I was seeking in the little village on the hill. He's a dark elf, goes by the name Ilton Beran. He collects lore of all kinds, fascinating and historical facts from all across Tamriel. If anyone can point me in the direction of an... I'm getting tongue-tied now. I found the man I was seeking in the little village on the hill. He's a dark elf, goes by the name Ilton Beran. He collects lore of all kinds, fascinating and historical facts from across all of Tamriel. If anyone can point me in the direction of an ancient ruin, it's going to be Ilton Beran. I have an appointment to meet with him tomorrow. Ilton Beran is an infuriating little man. Small even for an elf, he carries himself as though he were a giant. And does he love the sound of his own voice? I came close to driving a dagger into my ear on multiple occasions, as he went on and on about one obscure fact after another, but eventually he got to the subject I originally asked about. The Indaran ruins, Ilton Beran said with a dramatic flair. You will not find a more haunted location, or a more dangerous one. Turns out the Indarans were a wealthy family of dark elves who lived in a huge mansion 100 or so years ago, and then something happened to them, but I had stopped listening by that point in the story. What a long-winded blowhard, but at least Ilton Beran was true to his reputation. He provided me with exact directions to the haunted ruins known as Indaran Manor. He mentioned ghosts and lost treasure and something about unspeakable danger, but who can remember all those boring facts when there's an adventure waiting? Components are included. This could be it, patron. This could be the adventure that elevates me from that pretender Narcissus Dren. All I have to do is slip into the ruins of Indaren Manor, avoid the ghosts and untold dangers, and find at least one piece of the lost treasure. Easy as melting snow in a blacksmith's furnace. Wish me luck. Who knew ghosts could be so touchy about their state of existence? And dark elf ghosts? Well, they're the only ghosts I've ever encountered, but it seems to me they must be the worst of the bunch. When I refused to show the least bit of fear at their spooky mischief, they became sullen and withdrawn. All except for the veiled lady. I was exploring the haunted ruins of Indaren Manor when I encountered a most terrifying spirit, the veiled lady. This regal dark elf floated above the wrecked remains of her manor's banquet hall. I could see right through her, but her face was hidden behind a veil of gossamer ghost silk. Her soft, piercing voice asked, "Why are you here?" The veiled lady's question was appropriate. After all, I had invaded her manor without permission, but none of the other ghosts I encountered hindered my advance, so I didn't expect this one to prove troublesome. "I seek the lost Indaren treasure," I said. Suddenly the air around the spirit churned and swirled, and her veil pulled back to reveal... I can't describe the ghostly visage revealed when the veiled lady's shawl parted. Really, I've tried. The words come out as gibberish and the letters all undecipherable runes. But I can tell you that the sight frightened me to my very core. I was a child again, standing helpless before an angry spirit, and the spirit was drawing closer. I was deep in the ruins of Indaren Manor, held fast by fear and the ghostly power surrounding the veiled lady. I couldn't even draw my weapon, for all the good it would do against the spirit. "You have found only doom," she moaned, her voice, her winter wind whispering through the eaves. Closed my eyes, happy that Plucky was safe in the village. Something had changed. I opened one eye to see the veiled lady's shawl was back in place, and she had stopped moving. There, between us, stood a rabbit. I couldn't be sure, but I think it was the one I rescued from the cultists. It was locked in a contest of stares with the ghost, thereby shattering the spell that held me. So I ran. Dear patron, I wasn't able to recover the lost treasure of Indaren Manor. However, I did learn a valuable lesson. Sometimes an act of kindness can save your life, no matter how delicious the rabbit meatballs may be, or something like that. Your components are included. On the road again, and I find myself heading in the direction of the Buthenza ruins. You'd think that my encounter with the veiled lady would have cured me of my fascination with dungeons and adventures, but you'd be wrong. I'm a Nord. Adventure is what we live for. And mead. We love mead. I came across an impromptu camp alongside the road. Tents and merchant stalls had been hastily assembled, and the place had the feel of a carnival or bazaar. The festive mood and genuine excitement of the crowd drew me in, and it wasn't long before I was trying to decide what tasty morsels to sample and which heady brews to drink. I've met some intriguing people in my journeys, but few have been as bright and fun-loving as Karamel Littleleaf. I bumped into the wood elf at the Seven Traders Bazaar, the travelling carnival I told you about. She's quick with quips and jokes, and she knows how to acquire free drinks, especially when the buyers are male. Karamel Littleleaf may be my favourite person ever. Even Plucky likes her. We're having a grand old time at the Seven Traders Bazaar. She knows which brewers serve the most potent mead, and she's personal friends with a cook who makes... Karamel Littleleaf may be my favourite person ever. Even Plucky likes her. We're having a grand old time at the Seven Traders Bazaar. She knows which brewers serve the most potent mead, and she's personal friends with a cook who makes the most amazing rabbit meatballs. She keeps hinting that she has something to ask me. I wonder what it is. Why do these things keep happening to me, patron? I hate to burden you with my problems, but you seem to be a good listener, and you do owe me for all the components I send your way. Turns out, Karamel Littleleaf is a thief. She asked me to help her rob the Seven Traders' Bazaar. Oh, what a terrible turn of events. I never had a friend like Karamel Littleleaf, but I won't be persuaded into a life of crime. I reluctantly told her I couldn't help her. Not with her scheme to rob the bazaar, at any rate. I can't believe how weepy I got. Not proper Nord behaviour at all, but Little Leaf gave me a good hug and said she understood. She really is a good friend. I'm drowning my guilt in mead. I didn't help Little Leaf, but I also decided not to warn the merchants either. Now I feel guilty about doing absolutely nothing. Karamel succeeded at robbing the bazaar. She smiled and blew me a kiss before she disappeared into the wilderness. I hope I see her again. I miss her already. Plucky has been trying to lift my spirits, but things haven't been the same since Karamel Littleleaf went away. The high-spirited little wood elf really grew on me. You know what I need? I need an adventure. I think it's finally time to investigate the dwarven ruins of Bethenzel. Now, where did I put Narcissus Dren's map? I'm so angry with Karamel Littleleaf right now. Do you know what she did when she hugged me? She stole my map to the Bethenza ruins, the same one I acquired from Narcissus Dren. She tricked me, like I was some milk-drinking Breton wench and not a Nord warrior maiden. There will be reckoning, of that you can be sure. Even without a map, I remember the general vicinity of the Bethenza ruins. If I hurry, I might be able to catch up with the little thief Karamel. We'll see how well her jokes and the way she smiles and the funny way she tilts her head saves her when I wrap my fingers around her skinny wood elf neck. Your components are included. Plucky and I have sneaked up on a camp not far from where I think the ruins of Bethenzel are located. It's worse than I imagined. I found Karamel Littleleaf, and she's sharing a drink with Morella the Cruel and her thugs. I guess our meeting at the bazaar wasn't an accident. It appears the wood elf thief works with Narcissus Dren's nemesis. I guess I have a nemesis now. Maybe even two. It appears that Morella the Cruel and Karamel Littleleaf are working together to find the ruins of Bethenzel before I do, and they stole the map that I stole in order to beat me to it. I may just be mad enough to do something reckless. In true Nord tradition, of course. Dear patron, my reckless approach didn't work out so well. Before I could get in more than a dozen hammer swings on Morella's thugs, she cast some sort of spell and vines snaked out of the ground to bind me. I was held fast. And what did Plucky do? He went over to nuzzle Caramel's outstretched hand. Betrayed again, and by my own dog. Since I'm writing, I assume you realize I escaped from the clutches of Morella the Cruel. The how of things is what makes the tale interesting. As the vines tightened around me and Karamel stroked Plucky's fur, I saw the wood elf smile and wink at me. Morella was delivering a No. Since I'm still writing, I assume you realize I escaped from the clutches of Morella the Cruel. The how of things is what makes the tale interesting. As the vines tightened around me and Karamel stroked Plucky's fur, I saw the wood elf smile and wink at me. Morella was delivering a villainous monologue, while a dark figure snuck up behind her. Guess who rescued me? Go ahead, guess. I'm sure you'll never figure it out. Shore's bones, I hardly believe it, and I was there. Narcissus Dren, the famed explorer who once tried to show me his artifact, slipped into the camp and dispatched Morella the Cruel with a single blow to the head. And then Little Leaf eliminated her thugs. It was remarkable. I suppose I misjudged Karamel Littleleaf, and Narcissus Dren as well. They were working together to not only recover the map I had appropriated from the explorer, but to also deal with the threat of Morella the Cruel. The wood elf explained it all to me over multiple bottles of mead, and she even had rabbit meatballs for Plucky. Dear patron, while I intend to honor my contract with you, I also agreed to accept Narcissus Dren's apprenticeship offer. I'm going to accompany him into the ruins of Buthenzel. I expect my first encounter with dwarven relics to be extremely illuminating, and getting to spend more time with Little Leaf pleases me greatly. An added bonus, I think. Yes. Yeah. Why am I gluing? Interesting. Raw blacksmithing materials from Karamel Little Leaf. Hello. Due to the high demands of learning at the feet of the great explorer Narcissus Dren, Valinka Stoneheaver will be unable to send you personalised notes for the foreseeable future. But rest assured your regular shipments will continue. And don't worry, I'm sure you'll hear from her again, or my name isn't Karamel Little Leaf. Okay. Sultry. Raw blacksmithing materials from Karamel Little Leaf. Hello. Due to the high demands of learning at the feet of the great explorer Narcissus Dren, Valinka Stoneheaver will be unable to send you personalised notes for the foreseeable future, but rest assured your regular shipments will continue. And don't worry, I'm sure you'll hear from her again, or my name isn't Karamel Little Leaf. Well, Bosma are.
Some are, not all of them.
Well, I know, but I'm not doing all of them. I'm doing Karamel Little Leaf. And it's either Cockney or it's Australian.
Try Australia.
That's right. From Karamel Little Leaf. Hello. Due to the high demands of learning at the feet of the great explorer Narcissus Dren, Valinka Stoneheaver will be unable to send you personalised notes for the foreseeable future. But rest assured, your regular shipments will continue. And don't worry, I'm sure you'll hear from her again, or my name isn't Karamel Little Leaf.
Better.
I don't know how to go more feminine. Raw blacksmithing materials from Karamel Little Leaf. Hello. Due to the high demands of learning at the feet of the great explorer Narcissus Dren, Valinka Stoneheaver will be unable to send you personalised notes for the foreseeable future. But rest assured, your regular shipments will continue. And don't worry, I'm sure you'll hear from her again, or my name isn't Karamel Little Leaf.